Illuminated by divine love, 7 heavenly truths revealed for those that confidently trust in God. In the heart of a quaint English village, one woman's unyielding faith would soon light up the dimmest of days. Sarah, a devoted mother, knelt fervently at the altar of St. Michael's Chapel, her heart heavy with torment as her young son David lay frail and wavering against the shadows of a relentless illness. Each evening she gathered with her neighbors, voices filled with whispered prayers as they lit candles that flickered like stars descending, illuminating the ancient stone walls adorned with worn but beloved stained glass. With every prayer, hope ascended like incense, wrapping around them an embrace of community warmth that held dread at bay. Then, as if summoned by her desperate yearning, a stranger materialized at their door, draped in a shimmering cloak that glistened as though woven from threads of angel songs. The atmosphere thickened, alive with electric anticipation. "I bring a message from the divine," he proclaimed, his voice like rolling thunder, his presence commanding reverence. 7 heavenly truths await those filled with trust. Sarah's heart quickened, not from joy, but doubt. Could this be a true messenger or a false prophet laced with deceit? One by one, the truths spilled forth, miraculous in nature. The first, a light brighter than dawn. It beckoned the faithful, a promise that binds the soul to courage, declaring, "Do not fear." The second sparkled like morning dew, whispering of love that heals, robust and unconditional, igniting hope anew. Each truth unfurled like a fragrant bloom, each a promise, but Sarah's skepticism began to bubble within her. Could faith really stir decaying hope into new life? Before she fully realized it, the shadows of doubt consumed her. In her desperation, she sought secular solutions outside the chapel, promises of quick fixes that led her deeper into despair. With each step away from her faithful haven, she felt like sand slipping through her fingers, leaving her spirit fractured, a tumultuous sea of uncertainty tossing her about. But amidst the tumult, a gentle realization emerged. Standing once more before St. Michael's, she gazed at the flickering candles reflecting her own wavering faith. The echo of prayers, the innocent laughter of children, the community she had leaned on, the prayers intertwined like a tapestry of unyielding support. Heart clenching with newfound resolve, she invited her villagers back for a night of intercession, an evening to plant seeds of hope once more. Under the sweeping arches of the chapel, faith flourished alongside doubt as hands clasped and hearts refused to tire. And then it happened. The moment of divine clarity descended. In the flickering candlelight, whispers of prayer swirled around them, burgeoning with raw expectancy. Instantly, against all odds, David stirred. A miraculous spark of life ignited within him. Strength returned like the soft rays of dawn spilling over a dark horizon. Gasps echoed in the chapel, disbelief mingling with elation. Whispers morphed into shouts of joy, courage igniting the hearts of the villagers. Yet, the question lingered. Could there be more to this than they perceived? What was the purpose of the trials they had endured? As they celebrated, Sarah pondered the stranger's words, those 7 revelations that teased deeper meaning. With a heart both heavy and hopeful, she knew a journey had just begun. They wandered through a labyrinth of faith. What glories awaited them? Would they unveil the true power of love that binds them, or would the shadows return, deeper than before? In the days that followed David's awakening, an air of renewal enveloped the village. Sarah felt as if the very fabric of their community had shifted, each moment wrapped in an embrace of light. The villagers gathered outside the chapel, laughter mingling with songs of joy, their hearts drawn together like stars in a constellation of hope. With each murmur of gratitude to the divine, they felt stronger, as if held aloft by an unseen hand. Sarah was transformed. She moved about her home with a new sense of purpose, tending to David with a soft yet unwavering spirit. He was vibrant now, his laughter echoing through their modest cottage, a melody that banished the shadows that once haunted their hallway. Yet, lingering within her was an insistent question. Had they truly comprehended the meaning of the truths unveiled? There was a depth in those revelations, a treasure that beckoned them to dive deeper. That evening, as the sun dipped beneath the horizon, painting the skies with hues of crimson and gold, Sarah felt compelled to return to the chapel. The townsfolk had been buzzing with stories of healing and restoration, but she sensed something essential remained unspoken. Gathering her courage, she lit a candle and bowed her head in prayer. "Lord," she whispered, "we thank you for David's life restored, but guide us on this path before us. Let us know what lies in the shadows of our hearts. What is the calling within those truths?" As if in response, a soft rush of wind rustled through the chapel, causing the candles to dance like children at play. In that moment, Sarah realized she was not alone. The presence of the divine enveloped her, soothing her fears. The gentle shimmer of light filled her spirit, and she felt propelled to share their journey once more. This was not merely about her son's healing, it was about the reclamation of their collective faith. The next day, Sarah invited everyone for a gathering, an evening dedicated to exploration and understanding. As twilight draped its cloak around the village, hearts began to gather once again in St. Michael's Chapel. The villagers returned, bearing their burdens and joys, all eager to unravel the tapestry of their shared experience. "Tonight," Sarah began, her voice steady yet filled with fervor, "let us delve into the truths we received. What do they mean for each of us? How can we carry this light forward?" Hands were raised, voices mingled, and stories began flowing like a mighty river. Each testimony was a chapter in the larger story unfolding in their lives. Moments of despair transformed into testimonies of faith. Darkness turned to light. They honored the foreboding opacity of doubt, but they also celebrated resilience, love, and the presence of the divine. Sarah listened, her heart swelling with gratitude. Yet another thread of fear began to weave through the fabric of her faith. Had they exhausted the light? What if the darkness returned to claim them once more? It was a thought she tucked deep within, yet couldn't ignore. Then, as they prayed together, a hush fell upon the gathering. There, in the silence, something began to stir. A flicker against the stone wall reflected a radiant glow, the spontaneous light that the villagers could only describe as divine. Gasps emerged, and hope surged through their ranks. What message lay within this display? What was the divine communicating to them in that ethereal moment? Sarah's heart raced with questions. The air thickened with anticipation as they awaited a sign, unsure of what would unfold next. Could this be a glimpse into an even greater truth? What adventure awaited them upon this path of faith? Little did they know they were on the brink of an extraordinary revelation, one that would either bind them closer together or challenge their understanding of faith beyond measure. What awaited them beyond the veil of the miraculous light? As the glow danced along the chapel wall, a hush enveloped the villagers, inviting them to lean into the mystery unfolding before them. The light pulsed softly, rhythmically, as if keeping time with their eager hearts. Each flicker seemed to whisper secrets, urging them to be quiet, to listen, to pray. Sarah felt the air shift, a sacred stillness settled over them. With every breath, the anticipation grew thicker. The cool stone beneath her fingers grounded her, reminding her that they were rooted in a moment of divine invitation. "What do you wish to reveal to us, Lord?" she breathed softly, an echo of thought shared among the gathering. Beside her, David, once unable to speak, now turned wide-eyed toward the light. "Mama, look!" he exclaimed. "It feels warm, like a hug."
His innocent words spilled like a fountain of joy, eliciting soft chuckles mingled with tears, a testament to the healing that had already taken place. The flickers intensified, drawing the villagers in. And then a voice broke through, clear and melodic, reverberating softly against the stone. It emerged not from a single person, but from the chorus of hearts united in purpose. "You are loved," it proclaimed. "You are chosen. Trust in the journey ahead." The words landed softly, wrapping around them like a warm breeze. Some clasped hands, others raised their arms in surrender, and many bowed their heads. A collective sigh of relief echoed in the stillness. Hope breathed life anew into their weary souls. As they remained unified in prayer, the glow brightened, illuminating the chapel, a supernatural daylight that soared above the ordinary. Sarah felt the warm presence envelop her like an embrace from heaven. "What truth do we need to embody?" she whispered again, hoping for direction. In response, the flickering light started to shift, a visual sermon in motion, drawing patterns that seemed both familiar and prophetic. It outlined a message that fluttered above their heads, forming words that ignited faith like sparks in dry tinder. "Love one another as I have loved you." With each word that appeared with shimmering clarity, hearts swelled in affirmation. An elderly woman named Miriam stood after a long silence, her gaze steady. "We have been given a torch tonight, my friends, a guiding flame to illuminate our path beyond ourselves." Her voice, filled with both authority and tenderness, sparked whispers of agreement. "Yes," someone shouted from the back, "let us carry this light like a beacon." Excitement surged through the gathering, igniting a fervor that blossomed like spring flowers after a long winter. But amidst the joy, Sarah's mind fluttered with the echoes of uncertainty. What did it truly mean to carry the light? What sacrifices must they make? She pondered the weight of their new charge. As her thoughts danced, she could feel the old fears creeping back, eager to take root in her heart. "Together, we must not be afraid." David's voice rang out again, cutting through her contemplations. "The light is ours." His words shone with clarity. If only they could see it as he did. A flood of emotion washed over Sarah. Could this be the bridge they needed, the key to unlock the fullness of truth as a community? She searched the eyes surrounding her, seeking the same spark of understanding she felt within her own spirit. As the light began to fade gently, the outline of words lingered in the air, etched deeply into their hearts. "For you are a city on a hill, shining brightly." And with the final flicker, darkness did not envelop them, but rather left behind a warmth that promised illumination. They departed the chapel quietly, lit from within, each carrying fragments of truth that connected them, binding their stories into one. That night, as the village settled into a quiet slumber, an undeniable change coursed through its veins. Each heart was filled with a sense of purpose. But Sarah couldn't help but wonder, was this the beginning of a deeper journey? What trials awaited them on this road of faith that had just opened before them? In her heart of hearts, she knew the adventure was far from over. The moon hung low in the sky, wrapped in a veil of clouds, as the village embraced a night of reflection. Shadows danced playfully, but the warmth left behind in the chapel lingered in their spirits. Sarah walked slowly, deep in thought, replaying every flicker of light that had graced their gathering. David danced around her, his laughter bubbling over like a brook in spring. "Did you feel it, Mama? The warmth?" He twirled, arms stretched wide, inviting the village to join in the celebration of their newfound hope. "Indeed, my dear," Sarah replied, her heart swelling with his joy. But deep within her, uncertainty seated. What does it mean to reveal this love? How do we shine like that light? As if sensing her inner turmoil, the kind old man Eli approached. His face, lined with years of devotion, bore witness to countless prayers. "Sarah," he began, voice steady,
It's not the act of shining that we must focus on, but how we embody love in our daily lives. The light we felt tonight gives us strength, but the path forward will call for courage. Courage, she echoed, her brow furrowing. Eli chuckled softly. Ah, yes, courage, dear child, to embrace change, to carry each other's burdens, to seek the lost, and, above all, to become a living testament of the love we've received. His words hit home like a gentle rain on parched soil. Sarah's heart raced at the thought. But what if we falter? What if we fail? Eli placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. The beauty of faith is not in perfection, but in the pursuit of grace. We will stumble, but even in our failure, His love will carry us. Meanwhile, whispers filled the air. Others joined the conversation, echoing their eagerness to embrace the challenge. Miriam spoke, her voice a fragile song. Think of it, we have been called to be hands and feet in our community. What if we start with simple acts of kindness, a meal for the hungry, a visit to the lonely? Her words sparked new life. Thoughts began blooming like flowers reaching for the sun. Yes, another voice exclaimed, we could start a food pantry, gather our resources to help those in need. Love isn't just a feeling, it's manifest in what we do. Excitement buzzed among the villagers, and they began exchanging ideas, each voice adding to the ever-growing tapestry of hope. But amidst the elation, Sarah felt a knot in her stomach. The sacrifices, what would it cost them to be a city on a hill? There's a price to pay, isn't there? She interjected gently, capturing their attention. To carry this light means stepping out of our comfort zones. It might bring hardship or heartache. Eli nodded solemnly. Yes, my dear, but remember, every act of love is stitched together by sacrifice, and in giving we receive. Our faith will grow roots in the very soil of our trials. The crowd silenced, the weight of his words settling in their hearts. A shiver of realization spread among them, igniting determination. With a sense of purpose swelling in her chest, Sarah took a breath. Then let us not delay. Let us begin tomorrow, trusting that with every step, God will guide us. Together. And as dawn approached, heralded by the gentle glow of the rising sun, they agreed. Their hearts synced in rhythm, the promise of divine love binding them tightly together. But even as excitement filled the air, a thought trailed behind Sarah's resolve. What unforeseen challenges awaited them on this path? With courage in their hearts, would they be prepared to face them? Sarah's spirit danced between hope and fear, a reminder that faith is not just believing in light, but trusting it would sustain them through the darkness to come. As the first rays of sunlight spilled into the village, the air buzzed with promise and expectation. Sarah awoke with a start, her heart racing with urgency. It was a new day, a canvas untouched, and the village would set forth to paint it with love. She opened her window, breathing in the crisp morning air that carried a hint of dew. The sounds of life began to stir outside. Children laughed and roosters crowed, celebrating the gift of another day. Yet, as she stood there, Sarah felt an unfamiliar weight pressing down on her spirit, a mix of excitement and trepidation. What if they stumbled? What if their love was met with apathy or resistance? David softly padded into the room, his wide eyes gleaming with anticipation. "Mama, is today the day we help?" His innocent words sliced through her worry. She turned to him, seeing his faith just as bright as the morning sun. "Yes, my love, today is the day." As they joined the rest of the villagers at the chapel, a wave of hope washed over her. Eli stood at the forefront, his face radiating wisdom and warmth. "Friends, today we take the first steps into a journey that will define us," he began, his voice a soothing balm against their fears. "We are called to be conduits of love, to express the divine pour of grace to our neighbors." Miriam clutched a notepad filled with ideas. Let's divide into groups. We'll visit the elderly, cook meals, and gather donations for our food pantry. Her enthusiasm was infectious, igniting a fire within Sarah. She could see David bouncing on his heels, eagerly nodding to all the plans. Throughout the day, the village became a hive of activity. Sarah moved along with the others, each task lighting her spirit. As they prepared meals, laughter filled the air, binding them closer together. They shared stories of their lives, of struggles faced and overcome. With every shared moment, with every act of kindness, Sarah felt the divine light grow within them, weaving a tapestry of community. Yet one thought persisted in the back of her mind. What of those who would not welcome their help or kindness? She saw the villagers' joyful faces, but in the depth of her heart, doubt whispered, "What if their efforts fell on deaf ears?" Suddenly, her reverie shattered when she spotted an elderly woman sitting alone on a bench by the path. Clarity washed over her, and she felt a stirring deep within. The woman looked up, her eyes clouded with sadness. Sarah felt a pull, an undeniable urge to offer something more profound than food. "Hello," Sarah said, her voice warm and inviting. "May I sit with you?" The woman regarded her quietly, then nodded. As Sarah took a seat beside her, she shared stories of the day, of the love flowing through the village. Slowly, the woman began to share her own burdens, the loneliness, the aching heart. As they spoke, a gentle breeze swept through, ruffling their hair, and Sarah felt a connection deeper than words. Love was transforming the air between them, morphing doubt into hope. What holds a heart together isn't just action, Sarah thought, but the willingness to listen, to empathize. Suddenly, it all became clear. They were not merely here to help. They were here to build bridges of love and connection. As dusk began to creep in, painting the sky with strokes of orange and purple, the villagers retired to the chapel, their hearts filled to the brim. They had sown seeds of love, but deeper questions stirred in Sarah's heart. How would they tend those seeds? What growth awaited them as they stepped further into the unknown? Amidst the joy, uncertainty loomed like shadows in the fading light. The adventure had only just begun, and with every step, would they trust enough to walk through the trials to come? With hope dancing alongside fear, Sarah realized they must brace themselves for whatever came next. As night fell over the village, lanterns flickered to life, casting a golden glow that danced across the chapel's wooden beams. The gathering was alive with energy, whispers of grace filling the air like the sweet fragrance of blooming jasmine. Sarah stood beside David, her heart swelling with a mingled sense of joy and anxiety as Eli took his place at the front once again. "Tonight, we gather not just to celebrate our efforts," Eli proclaimed, his voice rising above the gentle hum of conversation, "but to bind ourselves in the spirit of love." His eyes sparkled with a light that drew everyone's gaze. We must remember that with every act of love, we open ourselves to deeper truths. Sarah held her breath, the weight of his words washing over her. Here they were, a small village fighting against the tides of indifference, yet committed to sowing love. But still, an uneasy question lingered in her mind. Would they really open their hearts? And what if they met resistance again? "Tonight, there are 7 truths I wish to share," Eli began, a smile flickering across his lips. "The first truth is this: love is a choice, and it begins within our souls. You must decide to let it guide you." The crowd murmured in agreement, nodding with understanding. As he continued, each truth seemed to lift Sarah's spirit higher, dispelling the fog of uncertainty. Second, love requires courage. It's not just about feeling, it's about acting despite fear, Eli said fervently, and a ripple of energy pulsed through those gathered. David squeezed her hand, his wide eyes bright. "The third truth is perhaps the most important," Eli said, leaning forward. "Love transforms. It takes our brokenness and makes it whole." Tears glimmered in the eyes of many as those words resonated deep within.
Sarah's heart swelled. She longed for transformation, for healing, and the thought sparked an ember of faith in her chest. Eli continued, unveiling the fourth truth. In love, we find community. We are never truly alone. As he spoke, Sarah felt a rush of connection with those around her. Each face represented shared hopes and dreams, pain and joy, the essence of humanity bound together. The fifth of Eli's truths struck deep like a drumbeat. Love gives us purpose. It steers us toward our divine calling. What a remarkable reminder! She could sense the calling in her own heart, the call to take this very love into the shadows of despair, where light was needed the most. The sixth truth resonated like a soft hymn. Love forgives. A hush fell over the crowd, many exchanging glances laden with meaning. Sarah thought of the elderly woman she had met earlier and felt that truth expand in her heart, filling it to the brim with grace. Finally, Eli raised his hands, his voice thunderous yet gentle. The seventh truth is that perfect love drives out fear. A stillness wrapped around them, calming the turbulent doubts that had danced in Sarah's mind. She realized that by embracing these truths, they were fortifying their mission. They were not merely helpers, but vessels of a divine light that could shatter darkness. As the night wore on, discussions blossomed, dreams woven together, and laughter echoed in joyous camaraderie. Sarah felt the bonds of love tightening among them, and yet a new stirring flickered within her. While grateful for the revelations, she was still haunted by the question, where would their journey lead them next? As the stars twinkled brightly overhead, a sudden wind swept through the open doors of the chapel. It carried a chill, a mysterious promise, wrapping around her like a cloak. What awaited them as they pressed forward into this work of love? Sarah gazed around the room, her heart racing anew. Were they truly ready for what lay ahead? With a sense of expectancy, she wondered, what steps would their new revelations ask them to take? And as Eli's voice drifted softly into her thoughts, she sensed a calling igniting within her soul, rippling with the essence of hope. Would they trust enough to step beyond the familiar paths they had walked? The wind's whisper echoed in the chapel, an invitation woven with the threads of destiny. Sarah's pulse quickened as she looked at Eli, his presence radiating calm and assurance. Something momentous was about to unfold, something she couldn't quite grasp yet. Friends, tonight is not just an ending, but a new beginning, Eli declared, his voice like a gentle breeze stirring the leaves. Each truth we've shared is a stepping stone laid out for our journey ahead. He paused, letting the weight of his words settle. The room hummed with anticipation, hearts leaning in, ready to seize what would come next. Sarah felt David's hand tighten around hers, a soft promise of support. "What if we're called to love in ways we've never imagined?" she whispered, her voice barely above the rustle of prayers falling from lips around them. Eli's gaze swept over the congregation, his eyes alive with purpose. "What do you feel pressing in your hearts?" His question landed softly but firmly among them. Sarah sensed a surge within her. Was it longing, or was it hope? More whispers filled the air, each gentle voice carrying dreams, fears, and desires. "We feel called into our community," came the response from an elderly woman, her voice wiser than the years she held. "But how do we take that love out into the world?" "Yes," Eli responded, joy illuminating his expression. "How can we let our love spill beyond these walls? Can we trust enough to reach out, to share, to uplift one another?" With each question, Sarah felt her heart soften and open. A collective daring danced through the air, the willingness to step beyond comfort and embrace the unknown.
The spirit of unity washed over them, wrapping around each soul like a warm embrace. A flicker of doubt tried to creep back in, but then she remembered the seventh truth: perfect love drives out fear. It was a mantra she recited under her breath, absorbing its truth and power. One by one, they began to share. A man spoke of his desire to open a community garden, a symbol of growth and nurture, while another shared dreams of organizing weekly gatherings to support those in need. Enthusiasm sparked like fireflies in the night, igniting ideas and hopes. Sarah's heart swelled anew. This was their moment of divine revelation. A vision of love in action danced in front of her, a tapestry woven from each individual's commitment. Together they could transform the village into a beacon of light. Yet a question lured her thoughts. What would happen when they stepped beyond their warm comfort? Fear gnawed at the back of her mind. It was a stubborn shadow hard to shake. Eli noticed the shift as he glanced at Sarah, the depth in her eyes speaking volumes. "Trust, dear ones," he urged gently. "Even when the road feels uncertain, love will guide your steps. We are the light for this generation." The room resonated with heartfelt murmurs of agreement. Slowly but surely, as if waiting for the right moment, the voice of Mother Nature returned. A gust of wind fluttering through the open doors, as if to say, "Go forth." With determination igniting within her spirit, Sarah envisioned herself stepping out confidently, holding tightly to love and its promise to drive away fear. What if they truly embraced each task ahead? What if love transformed their village into a haven of hope? As Eli spoke again, his words,
woven with faith, a charge filled the air, different yet familiar. Let love be your lamp, dear friends, as you embark on this journey, a journey that will test and refine you, but ultimately free you. It felt palpable now, the gathering of spirits fueled with purpose. They were no longer just dreamers, they were doers, with love tethering them to one another. As the lantern lights flickered like stars caught in wood and stone, Sarah took a deep breath, ready to embrace whatever came next. Yet the question remained: how would they begin to channel this love into action? What steps would the dawn awaken for each of them? A new chapter awaited just beyond the horizon, filled with hope, challenge, and unyielding possibility. The flicker of candlelight danced in the chapel, soft shadows playing on the walls as if echoing the stirrings of souls ready to embrace change. Sarah felt an exhilarating rush. Excitement and nervousness twined together like ivy around a wooden beam. She turned to Eli, a spark of determination igniting her spirit. "Do you really think we can do it?" she asked, her voice a soft murmur, yet filled with fierce hope. Eli smiled warmly, his eyes shining with the light of faith. "Every journey begins with a single step, Sarah. Love will light the way. We'll find strength in each other. It's how communities grow." Around them, the conversations blossomed, each person adding to the tapestry of intentions. The elderly woman from before, now glimmering with purpose, continued. "A community garden could not only nourish our bodies, but our souls, drawing us closer as neighbors, as family." David chimed in, his voice earnest. "And those weekly gatherings, what if we invited everyone? What if we shared our stories, our struggles? Transparency builds trust, and love thrives in an atmosphere of openness." The room vibrated with a swell of agreement, hands raised and voices enthusiastic. Sarah glanced around, seeing familiar faces now filled with purpose. She felt hope bloom within her, the vision expanding like the painted petals of wildflowers catching the sun's first light. But beneath the excitement, uncertainty loomed. Sarah pressed her lips together in contemplation. What if we fail? What if no one shows up? Eli sensed her hesitation. He stepped closer, speaking softly. "Fear of failure is only a shadow if you let it be. Remember, love is a risk that can blossom into transformation. Your willingness to try is already a victory. The congregation shifted, and Sarah felt the air thrum with an unexplainable energy. It was as if anticipation wrapped around them, tightening their unity. "Let's start small," Eli suggested, grounding the lofty dreams into tangible steps. "This week, let each of us try an act of kindness within our reach. Perhaps it's helping a neighbor, sharing a meal, or simply offering a listening ear." As they nodded, a shared understanding passed among them. This was a call to action that resonated deep in their spirits. Sarah reflected on a family she had seen struggling recently. What if she brought over a basket of food? Her heart warmed at the thought of their smiles. The room erupted into a flurry of agreeing murmurs, voices rising in encouragement. Plans started forming, ideas sparked like firecrackers igniting the night sky. Each ripple of enthusiasm drew them closer, and for Sarah, the path began to clear through the fog of uncertainty. With every passing moment, Sarah felt a ripple of divine energy. It was as if heavenly hands were guiding them, reminding them they were beloved instruments of love and service. Yet, just as the warmth of hope enveloped her, another question materialized, wrapping around her thoughts like mist. Was she truly ready to step outside her comfort zone? What awaited her in the spaces where love was needed most? Eli's voice broke through once more, reassurance woven in his tone. Commit to love. Take that step and trust that divine guidance will follow. A wave of courage surged in Sarah's chest. She could feel the weight of the moment. This was a turning point, a decision that could alter the course of their lives together. As the gathering concluded, Sarah stepped outside the chapel, the cool evening air brushing against her skin. A constellation of stars glittered above, each star a reminder of hope lighting the way. But still, lingering questions hovered. How would they take their first steps? What would they discover about love along the way? With her heart beating like a drum, Sarah stood at the threshold of purpose, ready for the unforeseen journey ahead. The night stretched infinitely above Sarah, each twinkling star whispering secrets of hope. As she took a deep breath, she felt the air steeped in promise, the energy of collective intention wrapping around her tightly. Each heartbeat seemed to echo the desires of those in the chapel, a chorus that urged her forward. She stepped gingerly toward her house, her mind swirling with thoughts. How could she make a genuine difference? The idea of bringing food to that struggling family felt right, but doubt flickered in her heart. Would a simple gesture carry the weight of love necessary to uplift them? Suddenly, a figure appeared at the edge of her path. Eli, silhouetted against the streetlights. "Hey, I was hoping I'd find you here," he said with a reassuring smile. "Looking a bit lost. Just thinking about the first step," Sarah admitted, her voice trembling slightly. "It feels monumental. What if I fall short?" Eli stepped closer, his presence brimming with warmth. Love isn't about perfection. It's about presence. Showing up with a willing heart is where the divine provides. You might be surprised by how love can illuminate the darkest corners. Sarah looked into his eyes, where a deep understanding resided. Maybe the act itself wasn't as crucial as the intention behind it. "Do you have a plan?" he asked, tilting his head slightly. I want to take food to the Johnsons. They've been struggling." "Since Mr. Johnson lost his job," she confessed, a spark igniting within her spirit. "But what if it's not enough?" Eli chuckled softly. "Sometimes it's not the act itself, but the love infused in it. A simple basket filled with good intentions could be a lifeline, not just for them, but for you as well. Connection is where healing begins." Those words struck a chord deep within. She remembered her childhood, how sharing meals always felt like sharing love. "I think I'm ready," Sarah declared with newfound conviction. "I'll begin tomorrow." The morning light began to break, illuminating patches of dew-laden grass. Sarah carefully arranged the neatly packed basket. colorful fruits and simple bread wrapped in cloth, remembering Eli's words. She could already envision the family's faces lighting up with gratitude, a heavenly glimmer dancing in their eyes. She arrived at the Johnsons' door, her heart racing with both excitement and fear. The thought of rejection lingered at the back of her mind. What if they didn't want her help? She raised her hand to knock, hesitating for a moment. Just as her knuckles brushed against the wood, she felt a sudden sense of peace wash over her. "Trust," Sarah whispered to herself, recalling Eli's encouragement. When the door finally creaked open, it felt as if time paused. Mrs. Johnson stood there, her face weary but welcoming, deep lines etched by life's trials. "Oh, Sarah, what a lovely surprise!" As Sarah handed over the basket, she felt a gentle warmth envelop them both, as though the act itself was more than just a gesture. It was a sacred exchange. Mrs. Johnson's eyes brimmed with tears that mirrored the heart of deep gratitude. "Thank you," she said, her voice trembling. "You've no idea how much this means to us." In that moment, Sarah realized the power of love was being shared. It was tangible, a living, breathing force that could lift spirits and heal wounds. "What if we invited others to share in this connection?" Mrs. Johnson asked, eyes brightening with possibility. "We could start a meal group, allowing neighbors to help each other through these tough times." A surge of inspiration coursed through Sarah, sparking visions of community gatherings, laughter, and stories flowing like rivers of joy. "Absolutely," Sarah exclaimed. "Let's do it." As they discussed planning their first gathering, Sarah felt something stir deep within her, a sense of belonging that was woven through vulnerability and shared struggles. Love was indeed the ultimate catalyst for transformation. However, as she left the Johnsons' house that day, another question began to take shape in her heart. If love could lead to such connections, what other unseen opportunities awaited? Hidden strands of divine design waiting to be uncovered within their small community. And thus, Sarah found herself standing once again at the door of possibility, each question beckoning her onward into the adventure that lay ahead. The morning light spilled softly through the windows of St. Michael's Chapel, bathing the gathered villagers in a warm glow. They clustered together, bright excitement mingling with a sense of determination. Sarah stood at the forefront, her heart alight with purpose, David's small hand clasped tightly in hers. "Today," Sarah began, her voice steady and full of hope, "we take our love beyond these walls and into the lives of those who need it most." A wave of agreement rippled through the crowd, hands clasped and prayers murmured softly. Faces glowed with readiness, hearts prepared for the journey ahead. They took to the streets, a multitude united under a shared mission, each person embodying the light they had discovered. Sarah and David walked through the village, delivering packages of food and handwritten notes infused with encouragement. Each door they knocked upon yielded smiles, stories, and connections. The laughter of children kicking a soccer ball on the curved street, neighbors exchanging warm greetings, and candlelit evenings spent recounting tales of faith and resilience. With each basket delivered, Sarah felt her spirit heal, her own burdens lightening as if transformed by the act of giving. Old fears and doubts were stripped away, replaced by the simplicity of shared love, the reminder that together they could face anything. One evening, reunited at the chapel, the villagers gathered joyfully to share experiences. The warmth of their connection shone like radiant light within the sacred walls. They recounted moments of hope, families reunited, a young couple finding the strength to rebuild after loss, and even broken hearts beginning to mend. As Sarah listened to each story unfold, tinged with tears and laughter alike, she felt the air thrum with grace. Eli stood again, his expression solemn yet joyful, prompting the congregation to share their reflections. "What if we took this a step further?" he proposed gently, his voice magically enhancing the buzz of anticipation.
What if we dedicated one day each week to serve our community? We can stand together, reach out to those who are weary, and cultivate a garden of love for all." Cheers erupted, an exuberant chorus celebrating the potential to touch more lives. Sarah's heart swelled with anticipation. The vision stretched before them like an open road, a new chapter wrought from divine clarity. But as she gazed at David, the innocent spark of hope in his eyes, a shadow of worry flickered through her mind. "What if we fail?" she thought, but the reassurance from her recent experiences soothed her. One week soon flowed into the next, and the villagers found their rhythm, a rhythm ignited by love and its powerful, transformative force. They visited the elderly, planted flowers in neglected gardens, wrote letters for those imprisoned by loneliness, and prepared meals for the vulnerable. As the weeks turned into months, the village pulsed with vitality, emerging as a testament to love unbound. With each act of kindness, they became a beacon shining brightly, eclipsing the darkness that once loomed over them. And then one night, with the moon rising high and bright in the crystal sky, they gathered in celebration of what they
had achieved. The chapel's atmosphere sparkled with joy, each villager's heart resonating with gratitude. "Tonight we are a harvest of love," Eli declared, his voice echoing against the stone walls, nourishing their souls. "This journey we have traveled together has shown us that love is infinite, growing stronger as we share it." An eruption of applause filled the intimate space. Tears and laughter intermingled, hearts stitched together with threads of faith. Sarah beamed, the warmth of love enveloping her spirit. David's laughter floated high above, infectious and pure, a jubilant reminder of the light they had tapped into. As the evening deepened, the crowd grew still once more, wrapping themselves in a sacred silence of appreciation. The flickering candles illuminating their faces mirrored the glow that rebirthed hope in the village. Sarah stood surrounded by the villagers, a family of faith transformed. "Lord," she whispered, her eyes glistening, "thank you for bringing this community together. Guide us to continue walking with love, to trust through every trial ahead." In that moment, she felt the whisper of divine presence, the warmth of God acknowledging their strides of faith, empowering them to embrace the journey onward. With united hearts and unwavering spirits, they departed the chapel that night, a city on a hill illuminated by love. As Sarah walked home, hand in hand with David, she reflected on that sacred promise. Love conquers fear, transforms lives, and deepens connections. Together, they would carry the light, just as it had been promised. And as the stars twinkled fiercely above, it dawned on her, this was not merely an ending, it was just the beginning. So, dear friends, where in your life will you carry the light of love? To witness more transformative stories of faith, you need to subscribe now to the channel. Don't wait even one more second. Leave a like to feed the algorithm. Comment below your reactions and testimonials about love in your own life. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this manifestation of divine love and unity. Together, let's continue spreading the warmth of hope, because each act of love ignites a fire in the world.